So we have Eva Har, right, from
Crozet Arts and Crafts
Crozet Arts and
Festival.
Crafts.
You're not doing a good
Festival.
job already off the
No,
bat.
because I realized that
And
people
Amanda Delgado and Justin Tooley, for head trainer of the Gym Seville.
and we've had them before.
Yeah, they're coming back.
Yeah, this is great. No, it's going to be a lot of fun. I can tell. I can tell
They've
already.
got a second location going on that they're building. So I mean, there's a lot to cover today.
And you know, and spring is here, so all these festivals and all these arts and craft shows are starting to pop up, just like daffodils and tulips, etc. So that's also good, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
Alex's
it's just-
favorite, just pollen everywhere. For those of you who of course are familiar with Alex, know that there are times he suffers from allergies, and it can be unfortunate, but it could also be fun.
Well, not just Alex. A lot of people suffer from
Yes.
allergies. Yeah.
The other
yeah.
people, it's not so
Yeah.
funny. It's only Alex.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Final set.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Today Mañana. I'm Nicholas Erpy, joined by Xavier Erpy from Emergent Financial Services. Xavier, well, everyone knows Xavier, right?
That's right.
He's been here.
A few times.
Alex,
would you say?
unfortunately, could not make it to host today, so you were replaced with me. As I filled in for Xavier last week, I'm filling in for Alex this week. Special thank you to...
Well, you forgot to say.
What?
Wait. We
What did we
forgot to
forget
say the most important thing.
Which was what?
Because we'd be remiss if we don't say
Café
that.
con leche.
Café con leche.
Didn't I say that before?
No, yeah, but that was before. I mean, some people may have not been
Oh, wow.
listening by then.
I'm a little bit more-
It's a beautiful day.
I'm
it's
more
a spring
relaxed
day.
than Alex. If somebody doesn't drink coffee, they can have whatever they want,
I
whether
know,
it's
but,
Vitae
there's
Spirits
nothing like
or
that
whatever.
Café con-
Just whatever makes them happy in the
That's
morning.
right.
Because
It's-
a lot of
it's at
nurses
5
are getting
o'clock
off night shift
anyway.
right now. And they're heading to the margarita bars at whatever place is open. So, but we are thankful to Aqua Seville Hand Car Wash and Castle Hill Cider, Sirius Craddock Insurance, the Gym Seville, GBS Financial Services, Vitae Spirits, and Emergent Financial Services for being our partners for Today Mañana.
Absolutely, yeah. And we also have FABA, the premier.
Oh, the premier network, Latino network.
Exactly. Which is important, right?
Yes,
It's
yeah.
important.
No,
I know
started by Olga
we're
Morse.
looking to have some events there also soon,
Yeah.
so that's great. But anyway, we have a full house today, right?
Yep.
We have great guests. One of our first guests who's going to be on first is Eva Hawar, right?
Eva Har.
How was
Is it
that?
Eva Har correctly?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
that's
right. Eva?
Oh,
I
the
got that
Crozet
right.
Arts and Crafts Festival. I thought you said, okay, yeah. No, Eva Har. Yeah, you got it.
Thank you, Eva.
And I think, are we ready to jump into our first guest?
No, why not? Why not? She's from the Crozet Arts and Crafts Festival, and I guess this happens, if I'm not mistaken, this happens every year. Is that correct?
It happens twice a year.
Twice a year. It's even better. All right. So tell
Every
us a
May
little bit.
and every October.
So tell us how you came to be involved with the Crozet Arts and Crafts Festival.
Well, the previous director left for a different position, I guess almost 3 years ago, and that's when I took over, right before COVID. Very exciting. So that first year, we had to do a virtual festival. We had to cancel the live festival for the first time in 40 years. I mean,
Wow.
the Crozet Arts and Crafts
Right,
Festival has been
right.
going on a long time. So this year we're celebrating our 42nd anniversary. And yes, our festival is Mother's Day weekend and Columbus Day weekend.
Oh, wow.
Oh, terrific. Wow. Well, that's a great time
That's-
to do
yeah.
it, too. I mean, everybody can go out there and look to see what they want to buy their wives and their mothers and their mothers. So it's a great time. So tell us a little bit about what's going to, what to expect in this festival, and obviously both from a woman's perspective and from a man's perspective, because a lot of times, the husband has to go along and he's looking around and he's saying, what can I do?
Oh, well, we've got something for
I
everyone.
figured as much.
Worry not. We have over 120 fine artists and artisans that come,
Wow.
and their mediums, range from metalsmithing to jewelry to painting to leatherwork. I mean, we have a whole spectrum of really incredible things to look at, to buy. We've got live music, we've got some great bands coming, we've got local food trucks, Virginia wine, beer, and cider, we've got an awesome kids area. So there really is, something for the whole family. And for our May event, we have some special things happening just for Mother's Day as well.
Ah, terrific, terrific. I like the idea of having a little food, a little wine, a little beer.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's great.
That helps
Yeah.
us enormously.
There you go.
Oh, no, I thought you had something to say.
No, I have a lot to say, but I figured I'll let you come in
No,
too,
it's
you know, I
just-
mean.
so where does it take place normally?
Sure. So it takes place in Crozet Park.
Right.
In Crozet. Actually, both of the festivals and the Crozet Winter Brews Fest, which is also kind of a part of our park festivals, support the park, which is a nonprofit and a community-owned park.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
That's terrific,
Yeah,
that's
no, it
terrific.
is great. It's always when it comes together.
So tell me a little bit about, you know, some of the vendors, how they can, you know, do they approach you? Do you approach them? Are they vendors that have been with you for years? I mean, how does that work?
A little of all of that. I mean, since the festival has been going on so long, we, you know, always have a wait list for both events. We have a lot of, well, I would say we have quite a few vendors that have been coming for years, a handful that have been coming for almost the full 40,
Wow.
which is
Interesting.
amazing.
Yeah.
And then we have a lot of new folks apply every year too, and try to balance, you know, both the categories of mediums and the new and old artists so that it's never the same experience. There's always something new and exciting, and there's always a lot to see.
So is there a limit? Like, in other words, so let's say you had, you know, 200 jurors that wanted to participate.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a challenge for you? Is there a limit saying we can only have 40 or 10 or
There
whatever that may be?
is, there is. We usually, just, I mean, space-wise,
That's
you
true
know?
too, yeah.
So we stay between 100 and 120 and 125 vendors.
Okay.
And then we also have a few sponsors and some nonprofits and community partners that come as well.
Okay. Now, I just, did you have something?
No,
to
go
say?
ahead.
Okay. I just curiosity. So what happens if it's, the weather is somewhat inclement?
It's
What
rain or
happens?
shine.
Oh, it's rain or shine, okay.
It's rain or shine, yep.
So I guess there's, coverings for the vendors.
Well, the vendors have
Booths?
their own tents.
Okay.
You know, in the past, we used to have this big tent that had the majority of our vendors underneath it. We did away with that after COVID, or during kind of COVID, as we eased back into the festival last year, and kind of spread everybody out. And the feedback was that it worked so much better that way. People really liked being able to wander and have more space between the booths and be able to focus on what the artist in each individual booth is selling. So we're staying that way. So we're still kind of socially distanced and out in the field, but every vendor has their own tent. And we are just, you know, keeping our fingers crossed for a beautiful sunny weekend like we had last year.
Absolutely, absolutely.
No, that's great. How long is it going to last, the Arts and Crafts Festival?
It's 2 days.
Oh, is it 2 days?
Yep,
Okay.
it's 2 days. It's Saturday and Sunday, so
Oh,
May
awesome.
7th and 8th.
And what time does it start?
10 a.m. both
10 a.m.
days.
Okay, okay. And it runs till?
5:30 on Saturday, 5 o'clock on Sunday.
Okay, so there's enough time there
Oh, it's
for
a whole
everybody
day.
to
for
go.
Oh, it's a
yeah.
whole day.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
awesome.
Yeah. Well, there's so much to see. You can come both days.
When did the musicians start playing? I'm always curious about like when.
At 10, like
so
the whole time.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah,
Usually,
yeah.
because I've always heard like a lot of guys they start at 12 and then you just go with the music forward. But that's interesting.
No,
So you're
we're
starting
really
right early.
excited. We've got, you know, Tara Mills Band coming this time, and we have Otravez and the Judy Chops.
Wow.
So yeah, so it's going to be a really fun festival.
No,
Otra
it
vez
will
sounds
be,
ex-
yeah, it will be.
Otra vez sounds Hispanic.
Yeah.
Otra vez.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
great.
So is that the name of it? Otra vez? Oh, okay. All right. Oh, so I guess, yeah.
What kind of music do they play? Just out of curiosity.
It's
been before?
yeah. I mean, Miles Pierce, who I think plays solo, is part of it.
Yeah.
If you know him, it's kind of like flamenco and
Oh, flamenco.
yeah, it's it's good stuff.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely.
Look them
That
up
is-
if you
that
haven't
is-
Yeah, I will.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Yeah.
You know what I was going to say? So, you know, we go to these events a lot because my wife just loves arts and crafts.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I
She
hope you
loves-
come
She
in
loves
May.
antique shops. She loves arts and craft shops. So she loves these events, and it's great because
Mm-hmm.
you know the fact that they're outdoors makes it more enjoyable, at least especially to me because I
This
usually
is
go
the
with
time
her.
of year. I mean, it's such a nice
Yeah, well,
time
it's a
of
perfect
year,
time of
you know,
year. It's perfect time of year.
to do
But
it.
what I was going to say is, the one thing sometimes what I find is that you're right. Vendors are very close to each other, so it's like, you know, there's a lot of people like in 2 vendors or 3 vendors, and you can't get to them, right? And like you just kind of walk past them because there's just too many people. So that the idea of having them more spread out, I think it's a fabulous idea,
Yeah.
just from perspective that people then have more ability to just, you know, wander more space, you know, get to see all the vendors. it's also good exercise, so you can have twice as much
walk
food as you
around,
really
yeah.
want to have.
There you go.
Well, because no, I mean, going to your point, because I mean, there's been a lot of fairs that we've gone to where it's sort of like you kind of just walk the walk and you kind of eyeball and you don't have a chance to like get in there because if there's 2 or 3 people already in a small enclosed space,
Right.
even pre-pandemic, you just sort of like moved on and you just like looked for an opening to squeeze in. But it works so it sounds like it's so much more freeing when you do it like that.
Well, I mean, and I think you really do have the opportunity to be able to look at what each artist is presenting, and that's, you know, with 120 artists, that's
Yeah.
a lot to look
That's
at.
a lot, absolutely.
You know, you asked earlier about, you know, what happens if a lot of jewelers apply or something like that. So that does happen, especially in the jewelry category in particular, but we do limit the number of artists in each category. It is
Okay.
a pretty competitive festival to get into, just because we do have so many applicants. So each medium is pretty balanced in terms of representation. So you won't see 100 jewelers and 20 other artists. You'll
Okay,
see
gotcha.
about 10 of every medium.
All right. And now you're part of that decision-making process?
Well, we have a jury.
Okay.
Actually, it's a juried show.
Oh, wow.
So it's an anonymous jury. So our applicants apply in December for both May and October. The jury meets in February, and then artists get notified of their acceptance.
Okay. So it's possible that you didn't make the May cut, but you'll make the October cut? Is that possible?
Correct.
Okay.
Sometimes,
All
yes. Sometimes artists are at both. Sometimes they're only at one.
right. Okay. So that gives somebody at least the opportunity that, you know, one of the two, maybe they'll be able to display their, you know,
Absolutely.
their arts and crafts. Yeah.
Yep.
So I also heard that you work at the Ix Art Park as well. So how does it differ doing the Ix Art Park versus the Claudius Crozet?
You mean in terms of the art festival?
Right, in terms
Yeah.
of like when you're organizing events, because those are completely different spaces. So-
Completely
yeah.
different. You know, with the Crozet Arts and Crafts Festival, again, it's such a tradition that I think a lot of our audience comes to see particular artists or the new artists that are a draw. It's, you know, it's very established. It is the same weekend every year. People,
Okay.
you know, it's out there. With
Yeah.
with Ix, it's all kind of new, and it's just being built. And you know, with it being Ix, having an art festival there, it can be a lot more funky and crazy and immersive, and incorporate kind of a different level and a different experience of art. So they're both amazing, but they're very different.
Now, are you an artist yourself? Do you always?
Oh, you know,
Is that a yes?
a long time ago, I was an art minor, but it's, you know.
But you've kept up with it in the sense of like this is. I guess it must be a passion in some sense to love art.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely love art. Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, I
So-
took a course in art. I wish I could have gone deeper, but I was like, I always loved art too.
Yeah.
Which is part of the enjoyable part of going to these arts and crafts festivals. Each one is unique.
Absolutely.
Each vendor, right? And there's a reason that they're going in for it. So now, do you find that the vendors are different also in Ix Art Park versus the Crozet Arts and Crafts
I
Festival?
would say so. I would say there's maybe like 20 or 25% crossover.
Okay.
But a lot of them are very, unique to each event.
And for the Crozet Arts and Crafts Festival, like they're mostly local, or do they have to be local?
They
or?
do not have to be local.
Interesting.
I would say, a good majority of them are from Virginia, but
Right.
then we have artists from all over the country.
Oh wow, that's fascinating.
Yep.
I'm curious, do you find that you get a lot of people that aren't necessarily from Charlesville, Crozet, this whole Albemarle area, coming to the show?
Absolutely. I think
Yeah.
we get a lot of people from the DC area, from
Okay.
Richmond, Harrisonburg, Roanoke. It definitely is, a regional more so than a very
Yeah.
local event.
I mean, the fact that it's been around for 40 years,
Yeah.
I mean, 42 now.
Yeah.
Also the fact that it's always on the same day, which is Mother's Day. I think it's great because then you already know this is, I'm going to make sure that on this particular day, Mother's Day weekend, on this particular day, if I want to go, I have to make sure that I plan it. And I mean, I think that's great, but if it's been around for that long, I suspect that the amount of people that are coming the breadth of that is much wider. Yeah. It's just an amazing track record, 40 years.
Yeah,
Wow.
40 years is a
That's
long
that's
time.
pretty good.
How do you
It is.
manage? Like, do you have to organize which vendor is next to which vendor? And
I
is there
do.
So how does what goes into that decision making process?
That is such a fun puzzle. Well, the first thing that goes into it is, any specific vendor requests. Some
Right.
people say, I need to, I have really heavy stuff. Can you put me close to load-in? Or some people say, oh, I want to be next to my wife, who's also an artist. Or
Right.
I don't want to be next to this person.
Right.
Or they would like a pavilion spot, which is very limited. So, so there's all of these requests. And then, of course, we don't want to put a jewelry maker next to another jewelry maker, right? We want to spread everybody out so
true.
that, people can, again, not be seeing everything side by side, but rather as, kind of a more, holistic festival. It's
Oh,
the fluid,
yeah, fluid, yeah, everyone
Fluid,
can
yeah.
just flow
So,
around.
yeah, so it is. Every festival, it is this puzzle I have to put together of how to make sure that, I can meet 90% of the requests and also have the layout be, as wonderful as possible for the customer experience.
Do you ever get people that want to be next to the food? Because I always assume that the food always has traffic.
people.
I'm just
No,
curious.
people don't want to be next to the food because of the food smells.
Oh, interesting.
Or people don't want to be next to the music because it's loud.
It's loud,
Oh,
yeah.
You know,
That's
so
true.
yeah, it's interesting.
But I would always imagine you'd be like, yeah, put me next to the burrito guy because everyone's going to come for a burrito. But
Yeah.
it's interesting that it would be like that.
Well, we actually have a little food court and an eating area.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
So the food
we
vendors are going to be
spread it out a little
separate
bit. They
from
are.
the artists.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
They're not. It's not very far because it's not a huge park.
Right.
But we do. We have a separate children's area, an eating area, our food court, and then the artist area and stage.
Awesome.
And I'm curious, actually, on that, with regard to the food, is that also a challenge in the sense that there are a lot of food trucks that want to be part of that?
For this one?
Yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah.
would think so, right? And how many? I
Yes.
mean, how many are permitted, and how does that work?
Well, we try to offer a variety of choices,
of
right,
course.
for our customers. There's folks that we've worked with kind of on an ongoing basis. Alex Montiel from Avocado, or used to be, I think he changed the name, but he's somebody that comes on a yearly basis. He used to do our exhibitor dinner, which we don't do anymore because of COVID. But so we definitely have a few regulars, and then we kind of use change up the menu,
Sure,
I guess, so to
absolutely,
say, for
absolutely,
each
yeah,
event.
yeah.
But I think we usually have about 6
Okay.
food trucks.
Okay,
Oh, wow.
Yep.
that's pretty good. Yeah,
Well, we
I mean,
get
that's
about 5,000 to 6,000 people over a weekend, so
Wow,
it's
that's a lot.
yeah, it's.
Is there an entry fee?
There is. It's a $7 entry fee. Children under 12 are free. There's a senior and military discount.
Oh, really? Senior
there
discount?
is, yes.
Oh,
And-
When does it
I like
start?
that.
Around 65. We're not going to argue
I was
with
like,
you.
you blew past that years ago.
And we're
Wow.
pet friendly, so
Oh, that's
you can
even
bring
better.
your four-legged friends. Yes.
Has it always been pet friendly?
No, it hasn't.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so that's another great decision because I remember we used to have a little dog.
Yeah,
Yeah.
little
And it used to
Westie.
be
Yeah.
it used to be so rough because we'd be like we want to take him
Yes.
because he'd be outdoors, but we'd have to put him hide him in a little baby carriage.
Yeah. Well, I'm a dog lover. I can't.
Right.
I can't. I couldn't have it be
Yeah.
not pet friendly.
Oh, thank you so much for coming. Where can people reach out and find the festival and get tickets?
It's Crozet Festival, crozetfestival.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
Crozet Festival.
That's easy.
Check myself there, but
Yeah.
crozetfestival.com.
Can you
And-
purchase tickets in advance?
Yes, you sure can. We encourage that,
Absolutely.
actually.
Oh.
Yeah,
So
that
if
way
you're,
you-
if you're watching and you
you
want to go,
don't
get,
have to-
get
yeah,
them now.
beat
And
the line.
I guess what, it just shows up on your phone? Is that what it is eventually?
Yep,
Then-
and just a barcode that we
See?
Yep.
Barcode.
Oh,
QR.
that's so
or
I love that.
QR code.
I'm
Yeah.
so good with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're so good with the terminology.
Well, it's become a lot easier, you know?
Absolutely.
I mean,
No, it is, yeah.
COVID kind of forced us into that, but it actually streamlined the whole entry process, so
Cool.
we're staying
That's
with it.
fantastic.
It's so
yeah.
interesting how all these businesses, because of COVID, had to convert to newer technology to
Yeah.
adapt to the circumstances, and then realize that this technology was more efficient
it's
anyway. So
great.
there's some situations where it actually was like, wow, it turns out that there were some helpful things because it gave sort of like a breathing period to some businesses
Mm-hmm.
to adapt.
Definitely the silver lining, you know?
Yes,
So,
you have.
After
yeah.
that whole situation.
Always looking for the silver lining. Well, thank you so much for
Well,
coming
thanks
on.
so much.
Yeah,
Have a-
thank you
I
so much for
appreciate-
having me.
appreciate
I
for
really
coming,
appreciate
and,
it.
crozetfestival.com.
Yeah, exactly.
All
Get
right.
your tickets now.
Get your tickets.
Absolutely.
Coming
Yeah.
out on Mother's Day.
I guess I know what I'm doing Mother's Day.
Yeah.
There you are. That's my gift.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much
I'll
for
get you
coming.
guys some tickets.
Thank
Thank you.
Have a great day. Well, that's good. I mean,
Well,
you know.
look in advance, like ordering tickets in advance is always so helpful because like you always worry like you're gonna have to show up, you're gonna have to like go somewhere and purchase.
Well,
your
you know,
ti-
most
like-
people, no, most people today don't carry cash, so it's
Yeah.
$7. So then you gotta take out your credit card, you gotta process the credit card. It's so much faster, so much easier.
Yeah.
You just go online, get your tickets, it's on your phone, and then you just show up, and then you walk around and look at all the vendors and have some
I just love it.
some good beer and food and
Well,
hope,
it's
and I hope
interesting
your
'cause
loved one doesn't
I
buy
was
too
about
much.
to say we were talking about art, and I just like every once in a while, like especially after I took my arts history class, just that one class in college, I'll look at someone and be like, that reminds me of X, Y, and Z, and then you'll just like go talk to the artist and like, were you influenced by any chance by Rothko? And they'll be like, yes. I'll be like, oh, I knew it. And, you know, because it's so great, because like that's
Absolutely.
what happens. Like you get little blips of inspiration, and it changes the way you see things. And then all of a sudden, you take your own spin on it, and you're like, wow, this is totally, and it looks totally different.
Well, from speaking from one artist to another, right? This is kind of a build your to look like Atlas, right? I mean, that's the whole goal. We have here Amanda and Justin. I like to use first names.
The Michelangelo of the real life body. Is that what it is? Right? Yeah.
It's the clothes.
Well, welcome back from the gym. Welcome back.
Thank you for
Great
having
to
us.
have you back.
Thank you for having us. Good to be back.
There's Amanda and Justin. In case you missed us introduce them, Amanda is the manager, and Justin is the head trainer of the gym Sivo.
That's what I mean, you can tell Justin does a couple of push-ups a day. Would you say?
Every once in a while.
Every once in a while.
We let him get a workout in
That's right.
every now and then.
Once in a while, you're allowed to participate in your own job, right?
Cut rations out.
Yeah.
You know, it's so funny. So yesterday, out of the blue, I get this. I usually get these emails from, I guess, some statistician website, right? Like I can't remember the name of the website.
Statista?
Maybe I get it every day.
Don't you have it
Is that what
printed?
it is here?
Yeah.
Okay. You're not supposed to. Oh yeah, Statista.
Yeah.
There you are. Anyway, so yesterday I happened to get
You're
one,
welcome.
right?
Yeah.
And that it talked about where going to the gym is most unpopular, right? But it also showed where it's most popular. And I thought it was interesting because India and South Africa, right, have about over 21% of the people go to gym, right? I think in America, United States, about 13, and in France it was 4%. Of course, that was the most unpopular. So it's interesting because I was trying to figure out, is there something about India, South Africa that people say, I want to go to a gym. Is there something more than just going to the gym? And I know that last time you spoke about that because I thought it was very interesting the way you talked about, working out because, historically, I think of working out, you go to the sweaty place and you're lifting weights and you're, trying to run on a treadmill or doing the crunches and, everybody there is
That
sweaty.
sounds
They don't know what they're
miserable.
doing.
It is
Yeah.
still sweaty from the previous guy, and you gotta wipe it down. Yeah, that's not great.
But I remember that the way you approach it is so different. So I'm wondering whether these other countries also think of it a little bit more just in both spirit and physical.
I think struggle. I think that the common denominator, if I had to guess at a whim, I would say struggle. I think when you learn how to struggle and overcome struggle and embrace struggle, you really use that to build you and grow you in ways that obviously, I mean, the statistics speaks for themselves. You know what I mean? You wouldn't think of third world countries as having that kind of impact into that population of what's going to the gym.
Exactly.
But I think to me it speaks very loudly about where they come from, the integrity, who they are. I mean, and I think when you have a life where you have to struggle more, it requires you to have to be more physical. And I think problem solving also is a big equation, and learning how to persevere and overcome. And the challenge that you get in a gym is going to be very much the same that you get in life, and how you approach that is going to be very similar. And I think the gym gives you a place to refine struggle and to be able to make it an outward expression of happiness and peace and all the conflict that might be going on, but that doesn't really affect. I think it allows you to just, I don't know, I think it's much deeper for those folks as well. I think more than just the physical attributes of strength training.
No, that's
that's
beautifully
great
put
insight.
because, I mean, it's, when they provide these statistics, they don't give you any more information, so you just scratch your head saying, why is that? But that never occurred to me, right?
Yeah.
But it's very true, and I guess the other thing too is, as you struggle, sometimes you need an outlet, and maybe this is an outlet that, again, allows them to, I guess, work both on their appearance physically, right, and mentally, because it is a challenge, and I suspect that in most cases, I mean, working out is not like a stroll in the park. I mean,
At all.
physically you're putting yourself in a position where you have to struggle, and as you said, maybe that part of it is the experience that you need.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think we all need that. I think as we lose that, we kind of cheat ourselves as we get older and we start to become more wise. Because now after you get all this wisdom and knowledge about life, how do you walk it out? Are you crippled and sitting in a wheelchair and taking medications and things of that nature? Or you're able to go out and actually see and do and experience and share and impact others through your struggle and how you've gotten to where you are now. And if you look at across the board, a lot of people that have a very big impact on people, it's coaches and that sort of stuff at the high school level, at the college level, at all levels. If you look at how much impact a coach has, I mean, and I just don't think that's something that I think we kind of still take very lightly. As a
But you guys don't, right? You guys don't. I mean, that's
Yeah, I think
that's your
kind of-
forte,
yeah,
right? I mean, that's
yeah.
what you bring to the table.
Yeah, exactly. I think, that's definitely one thing that kind of makes us, I feel like, unique. I think all gyms in their same manner kind of have that same sort of calling or that same underlying current. And now how they present it and what they do in the gym, I think, looks very, very different. But I would like to think that's why gyms do that, not just about money. And we know, I mean, it is about money as well, but for what we do at the gym, it's much more than just about money.
Right,
Yeah, it's
right.
about having a positive impact or leaving a legacy, but it's also built on the backs of one another. I show up because you show up because you show up because you show up. There's days I don't want to either, but when I do and everybody else shows up, it changes my whole outlook. And so it's when you can find a place that you can go and get nourished and work on being disciplined and then not only that, you get the benefit, but not just you, but everybody that you're involved with gets the benefit. You become a better listener, a better leader, you become a better understander. I mean, there's so many positive, good things that allows you to be able to, as you grow, and now you've got this experience in life and so on and so forth. Now you can use the gym to kind of walk that out and how to change and be the man or woman or whatever you're really called and led to be. You know what I mean? And you
Yeah.
don't let the emotional stuff kind of run your life anymore. Because if you do in the gym, emotional goes out the window real quick. And so, but once you learn that that's okay and that struggle is good, and you have trust in what you're doing and confidence in your trainers and your coaches, all of a sudden it's like, I don't know, I like to think we're worth our weight in gold.
Absolutely.
Maybe South Africa and India understand that the struggle is not at the gym. The struggle is outside of the gym.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely,
and I definitely think that's the case when you walk into our gym. It's not a struggle anymore. Justin and our new trainer, Gene, have a tremendous way of making it all seem so simple. Oh, I just need to do this. Suddenly you feel more comfortable and at ease at what you're doing and what you were fighting for so long, and then understand what you should have understand before, which was that this is so easy.
Yeah, yeah.
I wish I had recognized that a long time ago. Yeah.
Well, certainly, Justin has that, he portrays that a little bit. I mean, it's, a lot of times you don't think about that. You go to, like I say, go to gym, you go to a trainer and they're more rah-rah. Come on, you can do a push,
Yeah.
If you need it that day. If you
Yeah,
need that.
and of course, I
Someday
suspect.
it might just be
So
a
you're telling me that you do that too, right?
Oh, absolutely. We can really do
He's
that.
all things to all people.
Exactly, yeah. But I remember the first time you came, you even talked about, the first thing you work on is people's ankles and movement
They
and
got to
feet,
move well before we do
exactly.
strength training. Yeah, if we can't, and at the most basic fundamental level, I think that's something we do very poorly. We don't move well. We don't
Yeah.
take care of the ankle sprains that we had when we were younger and the knees, and we don't do the proper rehab. And next thing we know, those are the things that's coming back and causing the back pain or knee pain and all that. And that's just something that we see is so common at the gym. And that's why we spend 15 minutes every day, if not longer, and I want them to do their homework, I still gripe about it, because I want them to do their homework at home, so when we come to the gym, we can get into more of the meat and the potatoes, but at the same time, if that's where we need to spend our time, that's what we do.
Sure.
Because if once we can move well, then we can go do everything else well. But if we do that, it's just going to build holes in our foundation, and eventually it's going to come back and bite us. And either it's just going to be a sprain or it's going to be a break and a tear. And so let's try to eliminate as much of that as we're aware of. And that's so we try to integrate and work that sort of stuff in with, whether that's in the beginning of the workout or towards the end of the workout. We try to do both. And then we have active recovery days, and where we spend the time where we don't really touch a weight. It's all body weight and band work. And that's the only way to help really strengthen your ligaments and tendons, time under tension and that sort of stuff. And the band works you and weights kind of work against you. In the sense where you're stronger with a band, your band's going to give you more tension, and where you're weaker, it's going to give you less tension. So it works with the body instead of against the body. And so there's a lot of things like that. That's where most of the issues are, is at the joint level, where that's a lot of ligament and tendon, not as much muscle, right?
Yeah.
The crossover. And so that's why we focus on the joint and then also ligament and tendon health. I mean, we try to touch on all bases, because it's not just one dimension in any aspect, way, shape, or form. So as far as movement goes, that's where we start and continue. Just it's always constantly, and it's like a book. It's going to be something. If it's not your ankle, it's going to be your hip, or it's going to be your shoulder. It's always something. But that's the thing you learn to embrace. That's life, right? You wake up, you don't know what you're going to get. It's how you respond to it. Well, in the same way you learn to overcome those sort of little things in the gym and overcome those injuries, or so on and so forth. That's the same way we do it. And as you bring light to it and talk about it, work on it, and have dialogue about it, it becomes easier. And all of a sudden, you get to lighten your load, or you move better and become more efficient at movement, and all of a sudden you start to be empowered, because I can do these things without pain, and I feel good, and I can run, and I can jump, and I can do these things. Because the world, and a lot of people, and doctors included, and say that of people that have power, well, you can't squat anymore, well, you can't. That's the farthest thing from the truth. Well, we see movement as medicine. And the more you move, the better you feel. And not just physically, but also mentally, in every single aspect of it. We were created to move. Right. And so when we don't do that, that's when things get really, and we start finding other things to become reliant on, to try to fill a void of happiness that they'll never be able to fill. And I think that's to a degree, whether it's third world countries, when you don't have the resources, you have to embrace the struggle. But what it creates is just strong character men and people, and so on and so forth. And just look at their communities. Their communities in third world countries are much different than from what we have here.
Right.
I went on one mission trip, and when I went, and I didn't want to come back. I went to different places, and it just was like you go into these communities, and all of a sudden you'd hug and talk and love on these people, and it felt so genuine. And you're like, these people don't even speak my language. They don't even know who I am, but yet there's this sense of like, it feels good. It's
right,
like,
right.
But here it's hard to find. Here, as soon as you walk out the door, you're being judged in some way, shape, or form, or you need to look a certain way, sound a certain way, carry yourself a certain way, and it's just like
And act a certain way in the gym.
And for them, and I
it's
think
not
for
the
them,
case.
they don't have those same. That's not the stuff that they struggle with. It's very different.
See, when Justin starts talking about this stuff, it almost sounds a little poetic, doesn't
does,
it?
it does.
He sucks you
Philosophical,
in.
yeah.
Having him on the show, it's like
He
it's
just sucks you
poetic
in.
and beautiful. Like,
I mean, it's just life.
you
That's
have
what we
such
all
clarity of
experience.
expression. We really appreciate that. So
Well, but I get that from people, from
Right.
the experiences that I've had. I'm not very highly educated in any way, shape, or form. I barely made it out of single A high school in Greene County.
Well,
And
there's
so,
this
it
different
goes
way of
back
judging
to-
education,
yeah.
because I was going to
Absolutely.
say, you sound like a
Well,
very
if you look at the
educated
big push not too long ago, it was all college. Go get this paper, go get this paper, go get this paper. And now what we're seeing, he just got in more debt and this, that, and the other, and truly it's just figuring out, I think we all have these skills, and we all have these abilities, and we all have these insights. It's like, what do you decide? How do you decide to use yours?
Exactly.
How do you decide to bring value to your community? I mean, we all hear about it, we all post about it, but what do you walk out every single, does it exude what you're saying? And I think a lot of times there's that, just the disillusion that we live in, but the gym, you can't. The weights say what the weights say, so it keeps you in such a reality, and the great thing about it is you don't have to like it, but you won't be there long if you don't.
Yeah.
But it's got to come down to the choices that you make. It's going to inevitably allow you to be able to do that. In the same way we make on the physical aspect, it's in the spiritual aspect and all the other aspects that we're created, that we have. It's so much deeper. And once you start to find one way to express that and find that, whether that's dancing or mountain biking or kayaking, whatever that is, it's going to challenge you, and you can find a community that's going to help you grow. You kind of gain those same sort of insights. And then what do you do with that experience and share? And hopefully, well, you were talking about earlier, hopefully you can leave an impact.
Yeah.
Or you just leave a nugget, and all of a sudden for somebody else, it's their everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's not hard to do. It's much easier to do that than to sit back and judge and be ugly and nasty and point fingers and blame and this, that, and the other. But that's what I think we find ourselves constantly
Reminds me of that
doing.
passage from the Bible when Jesus is talking about the seeds, and if you cast the seed on the dry ground, it won't grow, but if you cast it on the fertile ground, it will grow.
Yes,
So
it will take
it was reminding me, I'm like,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
the philosophy. But before, I don't want to get too far along before I ask about the new location though. because
Yeah.
it's also
Oh, goodness, so-
it's in progress. I was like, I want to make sure we touch on
Well,
that.
the
As
last
much as we
time-
love your insight.
Well, once you open up the floodgates.
I know. I was like, my dad went in real deep, real fast. I was like,
Yeah, here we
oh,
go. No, so when we were last here, we had a lot of wheels in motion, and we really thought that we were just going to be moving into a much larger space, which would have been great. But we were approached by one of our clients at the gym. He's been kind of a longtime member, right? He's with Donaldson Construction, and they're putting up this big, beautiful new complex in Woolen Mills, and the whole time, apparently, he had the gym in mind.
Oh,
because
interesting.
he
He's a
just
very
enjoys it
special
so
and a very
much.
unique man. He's got an
We have
incredible
these.
skill set.
Yeah.
We have these garage doors that we open up so we can get a lot of fresh air. You always hear about how the gym has people outside working out and, pulling sleds and all of that. I guess it's a marketing thing, but that was never really our intention. It was just,
Right.
being outside in the sun and the fresh air is so rejuvenating.
It
It
is,
just
it
gives
is.
you a little bit
Absolutely.
of life, and even when you're doing something that sounds awful.
Outside
Interestingly
is
enough,
always-
that's a lot of times that's been my struggle, is that like there will be time. I am just a huge fan of just being out in the sun. Like my grandmother and I used to just go out and sit for hours.
Just be.
Just to sit there and just be. And she used to get those those plastic chairs. She used to get one, just sit down and go, oh, Bella Soul, like she was waving it in,
Yes.
like all the
Just take it all
sunshine.
in. Well,
And
anyway.
so I don't want to be indoors working out if I could be outside. So
Yes,
continue.
well,
I'm sorry, but I was like,
no, it's just that's one of the things that our clients love the most, and it was very concerning for us because we do need more space. We do need to grow. There's not a lot of places that fit that need like we need it.
Right.
And when he approached us, he was talking about wide open doors that you can just slide open, glass everywhere, so the sunshine
Wow.
is always
He
coming
had
in.
a vision for the gym before I even realized he had a vision for the gym. So, as you can imagine, we have awesome conversation, this gentleman and I do, and so he's like, when you're inside training, he said, you will not be able to know whether you're inside or outside.
Man,
that's
And so for that,
fantastic.
for the gym, since the very beginning in our 1,200 square foot location up at Snow's Nursery, we've always had two bay doors,
Yeah.
always. And every location that we've been in, and it sounds like moving into, and it was exciting thinking about moving into this new place, but then when he was talking about this and the timing worked out, it's just
How
like,
could we say no?
Absolutely.
it
How
was like
could we
for
say no?
us. It was
And-
for us. There was no
Yeah.
fight. There was no arguing. There's no battling. There was no this. It was just like, this is kind of the walk that this is where we're being led. And, in our humanness, we want what we want. We think it should be like this. And we create these things. And then all of a sudden, that door closes and 10 others open.
I think it was open for a very long time, and it's like we were trying to shut it for
Yeah.
a little bit because we just need space. We
Yeah.
just need space.
Yeah.
But no, this is what's right. So we're going to hang out a little bit longer where we
Okay.
are. By this time next year, we will definitely be in our new location.
And where is that?
It is in Woolen Mills, which I believe is right off of Franklin. I'm still learning my roads, but right off of Franklin. There's a big condo complex that's up there that
Okay.
is
Is
relatively
is it near
new.
the wool factory where the salvage
Yes,
unit is?
yeah,
Okay.
not
Oh,
the road that leads to it, but
nearby.
right next to
Okay,
there,
so
yeah.
everyone can get
Mhm.
just like a
Where the
general sense of the
stockyard,
space.
Remember where the old stockyard used to be? It's right up from the stockyard.
I don't remember where I'm sorry, I don't remember where the old
Okay.
stockyard used to be.
Where Arcades Decade, the Arcades place is? Well, they're doing it right hand side up by Beer Run.
Oh, yeah, near Berwyn.
So if you're
Okay,
going
yes.
towards like PVCC,
Yeah.
when you get there to Beer Run at that stop, or go past Beer Run, cross the railroad tracks at that stoplight,
Yeah,
make
yeah.
a left.
This is how
Follow
Justin
it all
gives
the
me
way.
directions too.
So
I'm
it's
like, I don't know what you're
so
talking
it's
about.
not too far from the Wool Factory at all, then?
No, it's
in that
very, very
same-
close,
Yeah,
yes.
it's in that same location,
Oh,
but just on
awesome.
the other
So you can
side.
go to the gym, then go get a beer at Selvage, and then
Yes.
like it'll all work out.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah,
Oh,
so we
that's
should be in
fantastic.
there by this time next year for sure. And we're just going to stay comfortable for a little bit.
Yeah. We've made some
We
cool
still
upgrades.
have room for more clients, you know, because with the way our class schedules go, it really kind of, you know, divides the group sizes up pretty well. And
Right.
so, you know, we're excited. In the meantime, we are just adding more classes, which we're really excited
Gene's gonna
about.
be start
Justin and I
running some of
had,
his own stuff,
Yeah.
which is
Oh.
really cool to see him getting that stuff off the ground. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
we
Because
had,
it takes work, it's hard, it's not
No.
easy to do that sort of stuff. Everybody wants to be a coach until they find out what it's like to be a coach. And
That's
then what
right.
all it entails, it's very challenging on so many different levels and so on and so forth. And two, like, what is your bullseye market and what people do you want to work with and how do you, you know, coach is also a very big word as far as, is it for powerlifting to get stronger or bigger, which is good? Is it general, like, how do you navigate that sort of stuff? Everybody wants to be strong, but not everybody wants to be a power lifter.
Oh,
And it
interesting.
took me a long time to figure that out.
I never wanted to be a power lifter, no.
But people want to be strong. They want
Right.
the attributes of those sort of things. And so that's what leads us, I think, and also what we create at gym and the programming and the stuff that we do is very different. And, you know, we just got finished during the process of doing a strongman and hypertrophy. So we're doing some strongman events and then some bodybuilding type stuff and kind of putting those two together and stuff like that. And then after that, we're going to do more of a conjugate hybrid with box squats and speed pulls with bands and stuff like that. And everybody will do that, no matter if they're 20 or 70. And some will be on a higher box and other
Yeah.
right different bars and stuff
Right,
like
right,
that.
exactly.
But everybody will be
Yeah.
doing that sort
Yeah.
of stuff. And I think that goes back to kind of the
Yeah.
empowering. It doesn't matter what your age is. You can make it work.
Right.
It's just what are you willing to do or how uncomfortable you're willing to be, you know, to be able to step out into what you're called or led
Absolutely.
to. You know?
Yeah, yeah.
Good stuff. A lot of good stuff.
So, yeah, well, because of the growth and because we have all these ideas constantly brimming, we brought on a new trainer. His name is Gene. He's not so new anymore. He's been with
Yeah.
us over a month now, but he's
okay.
amazing. He's absolutely
Yes.
amazing, and people love him. So, you know, he comes with a lot of experience. He works very well with Justin, too, so he's, you know, really good at putting those workouts into motion. But Gene also has Olympic weightlifting experience, and so we started an Olympic weightlifting class,
Yes.
which we're
Wow.
really excited about. He also has a lot of, like, high school sports
Conditioning,
performance
agility, footwork. that kind of
abilities, yes.
stuff,
So we
yeah.
started
Okay.
a sports performance class, and that one is a little more unique because you don't have to be a member in order to take that. We wanted to have it open to high school kids as well because, you know, it's really important to think about how do you take care of yourself and your body when your sport is not in season. You know, if
Right.
if
Interesting.
baseball is your thing, what are you doing to take care of yourself in basketball season? And, you know, so we wanted to open that up to everybody. That one is open for just 75. There's no membership needed in order to participate in that class. And you can be in it for as long as you want to be in it. Even if your sport is now in season, you can, you know, come and get a little bit extra. And so...
I think that's great because, you know, one of the things when you're young, you just make the assumption that, you know, I don't really need to work out or keep in shape because I can just, you know, get going anytime I want.
Well, we could then, couldn't we?
Yeah, well, but I mean, to be able to,
But then you pay for
to
it
have
later.
to have the proper training, right, during the off season so that when the season comes, now you are even better than you were before.
Reminds me
and
of a
you're in shape.
conversation we had with Jeff Cameron of Aquasiva when he used to play baseball, and he would be like, in the off season when he was like in the minors, like it would be rough because you had to try to work because they didn't pay you when it wasn't baseball
Right.
season. So like you'd be working, you'd be trying to go to the gym, but like if you hurt something, then like you were responsible. So like how do you manage being like, especially baseball, that's such an odd sport in the sense that you don't move a lot, right? There's kind of like bursts,
Bursts of
sub movements.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but if you think of a pitcher
Yeah.
or a catcher, sit
they're
in those
moving.
positions.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
they
right.
go from kind of real
catcher's
slow to real
knees.
fast,
Ooh.
like right
Yeah.
now. You know?
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's so rough. And how do you stay in shape for that? So like that just, it reminds me
It's
immediately of
important
that.
to,
It's important.
yeah, it's important. Your off-season training is super important. And I said high school students because I wanted to be sure that everyone understood they were included. But of course, college athletes too, and beyond. We have a lot of guys that come back that say, I used to do this, I used to play ball in college, and now, I'd
I don't
really
know how
like
to train.
get.
I can't train like I used to. I'm like, I know
Right,
what you
and
mean.
yeah, so they want to come back, and
But check
that's
this
what they're
out.
looking for.
Yeah, check this out.
So, and then the one I'm most excited about is something that Justin and I had talked about recently, which is a meditation class.
Oh,
wow.
So we're just going to close down the gym for an hour on Sunday.
Okay.
And have a meditation class. We're going to implement a couple different types of meditation, breathing, frequency, which is a big deal right now, frequency and vibration.
The frequency of breathing? Or
No, well, sure.
Okay. I was like,
breathing
like,
meditation
am I breathing
is,
too fast? Is that the issue?
Breathe every 15 minutes,
Yeah.
stop.
But meditation, when you're meditating, one of the most important things is to focus on your breathing. So that's what sort of calms down your body and your mind, right? But frequency is more about how the body, everyone emits certain frequencies and vibration. Energy.
Oh, interesting.
Right? Almost like, how you could be next to somebody and you can sort of feel them without even touching them. It sort
Right.
of taps into that, how
Part
do you
of
say?
our being.
Zone,
Yeah.
yes, of the body. And there are a lot of different musical frequencies that you can listen to that sort of help you focus and heal certain parts of the body.
The Wim
so-
Hof method is a big method. It's
Which
called
method?
Which
the Wim Hof method. That's kind of brought a lot of light over the past couple of years to like breathing and that sort of stuff. And this guy went and ran a marathon in Antarctica or something like that in a pair of shorts. And he climbed Mount Everest in a pair of shorts. And so you're just kind of really understanding the mind-body connection and truly what we're capable of able to do if you're willing to learn how to suffer, but you'll learn how to suffer well in a way in which I think we're truly designed. But if we don't learn how to control or tap into the emotional aspect and calm that, that's how we always respond. Kind of like the gym, I think. See, I mean, imagine that, right? But when you get under something heavy, what do? When something hard or challenging happen out there, what do? I feel like the more experience you have in being able to breathe and walk with somebody or walk with people through that, in the gym, it's going to give you tremendous care. You don't get so nervous or scared because you're more confident who you are, what you bring to the table. You understand the flaws and also in the brokenness. And all of a sudden, it's like, for me, that's part of the thing the gym allows you to continue to work on and redefine as you get older. I don't like what happened to me, this time ago, but all of a sudden, if we use that as a stepping stone, that's going to be able to impact and leave something much more positive and good behind than if we continue to use it as a stumbling block. And it's just kind of that same ugly circle that we continue to find ourselves in day in and day out.
So it's important.
Yeah,
Meditation is
happening,
important, and we
yeah.
recognize that in the gym as
Yeah.
taking a holistic approach to taking
So it's
care
going to
of
be
the body.
new and
Yeah.
going to be different. I'm not exactly sure how we're going to go about that.
We're
but
implementing that in May so that we have a little time to build upon it.
So I guess just because now I'm curious because you've designed these classes, and I'm sure you have like the spark of an idea, but then you have to organize it into like
Walking it
different.
out, that's-
Yeah. So how do you do that? Because I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people that don't know anything about lifting, don't know anything about meditation. I mean, at frequency, my question, I know absolutely nothing about meditation. So like, how do you like start taking an idea for a class and then splitting it up and organizing it?
Oh, we just throw caution to the wind and go for it.
Seriously, that's exactly how we roll.
It is a little bit like that.
It
I mean, you
is.
do have to have some direction.
Some
People need
structure.
to understand what it
Right.
is they're thinking about signing up for and why. Why should I consider it, right?
Right.
But the gym has always been about a holistic approach
Yeah.
to taking care of your body, and that I think is what really sets us apart from other gyms. And so, a little bit, you have to find the right guidance, and we know people that have the, you know,
sure.
the right things to say. And so we just make sure we make those connections before we implement, yeah.
And I think when you still start to build rapport with people and you start to build trust with people, because you got to trust your coach or whoever you're working with, they're not going to hurt your knees, hips, back, shoulders.
Right.
So that's just not something that just automatically happens. They have
Right.
these grandiose ideas and say, let's do it. I think we've created a sense of community, and I think people kind of trust us at the helm of that fitness, and wherever they feel like we need to go is where we're going, and they don't really question it. Not a bad
Yeah.
thing, but I think that's what kind of allows me to be able to kind of be unique and have some of these crazy ideas, but all of a sudden I find that we all want it. We all want to be loved and
Trust is
accepted. So
huge,
how
yeah.
can we create a space where we can use the gym, because everybody's kind of comfortable or okay with the gym. That's not too taboo yet, but like to do that, but let that be the doorway to open up to what's on your heart, or learning how to walk the things out, or learning how to let go and kind of be like how you were with your grandmother, and just be able to go and just be
Yeah.
okay with where you are, with all the
Maybe-
crazy enough, the stuff that's going on around you.
Maybe
Yeah.
that's what India's edge is, huh?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe.
And
Yeah.
it very well could be. No, I mean, that's another great point.
For sure. Absolutely.
It's funny, I remember, I think it was Dr. Weil, this is years and years ago, where I was listening to him, and he talked about meditation, and he specifically talked about breathing. And he basically said you begin to focus on your breathing. And he had the 3 steps, I think, the inhale, the holding it, and the exhale, right? And so for a while I was trying that, and what you realize is that because you're focusing on your breathing, everything else is beginning to shut down.
You forget the garbage.
Exactly. And that's the whole point, right? You really have to start beginning to just, I mean, in a way, what you mentioned about the gym, right? But it's like you need to put all that behind you, away from you, so you can focus and cleanse
now
yourself,
and
right?
present.
A little bit of all the
Yep.
stress that goes on in your
Even
life.
if it's only an hour a
Right.
week, you need to dump your mind somewhere
Yeah.
at some point.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
so we're trying to create an hour to do that.
Yeah.
That's
Whatever
awesome.
that looks
Yeah.
like. Yeah.
But we do have a huge event coming up that's completely opposite of meditation. And
Would you
that-
like to tell us about that?
Yes, so we have this crew in our gym called the UVA Barbell Club. Of course, they're UVA college students,
Okay.
and they put together this first time meet. They're calling the Commonwealth Cup. It includes, you know, all the surrounding area colleges
Oh,
that have
college, collegiate.
similar clubs.
It's an unsanctioned meet.
Mm-hmm.
This is all college kids. I think Virginia Tech, Old Dominion, of course, us, JMU. I know I'm forgetting some other schools. Mary Baldwin.
Already
Not Not Mary Baldwin.
Wow.
'Cause that's the all-girls school, so that wouldn't count. Well, I guess
Wow.
they could.
Well, they
I mean,
could if they want to,
absolutely,
I
probably
suspect.
badass if they had.
They
one.
already have 55 competitors in this. So the gym is hosting it, of course.
Oh, awesome.
And yep, so that's on the 23rd. We would love it if you guys came,
No,
just to
was
check
that?
out what
The 23rd of
April.
Oh, April.
Okay.
Okay, gotcha.
And
gotcha.
you know what time?
Well, let's see.
Probably around 9:30, 10.
9:30, 10. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean they're doing weigh-ins up
Weigh-ins will
until
be in the
9.
morning.
So
Yeah.
so anytime after that. But the energy that those events put out.
I can
is-
imagine.
These young, I shouldn't say kids, but these guys and girls have done such an incredible job of picking up the torch and baton and just running with it. And that's one thing I love about about these folks, because I know when they finish their college and they go on in life, they're going to be rock stars. They're going to do things that really change people's lives for the good. You can see that. And so it's really cool, because the Barbell Club has kind of been hit or miss. A couple of years ago, we had some really good relationship with some guys that first had started it, and we kind of had this sort of, great friendship and relationship, and that kind of went away a little bit over time, and now it feels like these guys are really excited and understand that it takes a lot of work and to make this work, but these guys don't mind, and girls don't mind work at all. It's been really cool to see them come in just regularly, and like I'll go in on Saturday mornings at 8 o'clock, and sometimes they're in there training before I get there.
Wow.
And so to see a college person with that kind of motivation, that much just like drive, it's so awesome. Just because, I don't know, you don't get to see, at least I don't really feel like we get to see that as much anymore, and seeing these
Exactly.
young people pick this up and knowing just what it does to who they are as a person. So much more than it's great watching them lift and do what they do, but just knowing what it's shaping them into later down the road is going to be
Yeah.
really cool to see what that's going to impact, that's going to
That's-
leave.
Yeah, that's-
So
that's-
really, really cool, yeah.
So make sure, so I just, for all our audience to know, I did share the photo of the construction site going up on Today Mañana, so when you
Excellent.
finish with the interview, go check it out,
Very
and we will share all the information for the April 23rd
April
event.
23rd. yeah.
Great, thank you.
Yeah,
That looks
it's
great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Now, before we let you go, how can we reach it? How can any of our audience members get in touch with you, reach out?
So
find you?
the best place to get to us is through our website, thejimseville.com. You can email us through there. You can sign up for a gym membership through there with all of the discounts that we offer right now is the spring savings 10%. They can manage their account that already exists on there as well. So if they need to make some adjustments to it, truthfully, they don't ever even have to contact me. But if you have questions, you can.
Yeah.
Which, and then they can give us a call too. Everything's listed on the website.
Okay.
Or
awesome.
Instagram, Facebook, all of it. Yeah.
And
All
too,
of the
if
above.
anybody, other small businesses or people out there that feel like they have some ideas or thoughts or kind of are navigating those waters as well and feel like they're piggybacking together or kind of we're seeing brainstorming of what we couldn't bring together, we're always open for that. So in conversation or,
We
so,
like to
yeah.
help everybody.
Yeah, I mean, just whatever, how can we use the platform that we have to build and create a community that we're all happy and proud of and all get to invest in some way, shape, or form?
That's awesome.
That is fantastic,
Yeah.
fantastic. You guys are doing a great job, and
Thank
I'm
you.
looking forward to your new space for
Thank
next
you.
year.
Yeah.
You're,
We
you're
are
excited,
too.
and I mean
This
that looks
sounds
like it's going to be an
beautiful,
awesome
yeah.
It's
place.
gonna be
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
Thank you again so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you,
for
Justin,
having
Amanda.
us.
Have you.
Yeah.
been a lot of fun as usual. Thank you,
It's always fun.
and a learning experience. You know, I noticed that when Justin was talking about wisdom, he looked at me. I was so happy about that.
Yeah. I don't know why.
I don't know why either, but still, I felt good, and that's the whole point. It makes you feel good.
It's kind of funny because, like, when we go after, the first thing that popped into my mind when we were talking, like, even just about class was phronesis, which is this Greek concept that Aristotle had of having the ability to know what to do given a certain situation. That was like his, and that was the major philosophy for his ethics. But it was like, I just loved. And the funny thing is, as I've gotten older, because I read this book like when I was 15. So it has stuck with me for
It did.
yeah,
Few
for a
years,
very
yeah.
long time, 13 years, I think, at this point. So, and one of the things that is, you can always tell when someone's got it, right? You meet someone and they've got, even if it's just for their profession, you can tell when someone has that very particular ability, you know. And I always try to use the Greek word because it translates to prudence now, but I don't think prudence carries the same mentality that Aristotle intended. So I thought it was great.
And what's that word again?
Phronesis.
Phronesis.
Phronesis, I think.
Okay. You
I
didn't
might
have to
have an
spell it, I
extra
just
E in there.
Well, finding people that are passionate about what they do is so awesome and so empowering, especially if that's their skill set or that's what they were designed to do,
Yeah.
that only they can do.
Yeah.
And like when they find their voice and learn how to use that, it's like they can impact the world in only which they can. That's what's so absolutely incredible about that, you know. Yeah.
It's
yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there
Well, if you
are
think about people in
folks-
Africa, it goes back to that again.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, I think that's pretty awesome statistics, and it stands everything we know on its head.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
exactly.
We're the most
That's
technology advanced, we're this, we're that.
Exactly.
We're educated.
Yeah.
Like, what is okay, well, like, that's good, but
Yeah.
what do we do with that? You know, yeah,
Well,
that's good.
I also have my theories. I think.
I was going to say for France, if you have a 4-hour lunch, you don't have time to go to the gym. You got a 4-hour lunch, you got a 4-hour breakfast, you got a 4-hour dinner. You're set for the day. I don't know if anyone's working out. If it's like you got a 6-course meal every day, you
Yeah,
know.
I'm gonna hard pass on the working out.
Yeah. I'd be like, pass the baguette. What are you talking
Yeah.
about? Yeah.
Extra butter,
Oh,
please.
yeah, yeah.
How
Thank
true,
you so
how
much,
true.
you guys, for joining
Yeah,
us.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Now,
Oh.
I know you had some thoughts about, and
Thoughts?
you didn't tell me which what we were going to talk about
Not
for our
thoughts, I
last
mean, no,
financial.
just- Well, you know, I mean, I know the other day, I think it was,
it was on Tuesday with
Jerry
Alex
and
Jay
Alex were chatting about inflation and I guess the events that are going on, and who are the winners, who are the losers, and you know, I don't really look at I don't really look at life as to who's winning and who's losing, right? Not certainly from, I mean, because you can make a list of, listen, all these folks are winning because of what's going on in the world and inflation and the markets and interest rates going up or down or whatever it may be, and make a list of those that are losing. The only thing that I say is that, we are in a time right now. I mean, let's be honest. A PPI yesterday was 11.2%. What does that mean? That's the Producer Price Index, as Alex, he's so eloquent explaining how that works, but that's what producers pay, right? And so little by little, that has to filter down. So that's going to filter down into the Consumer Price Index, which means that the consumers are going to have to pay for this.
Right.
So it's the highest ever, 11.2%, which means that there's a very good expectation that the inflation number or the Consumer Price Index next time around is going to be higher than it was even this time, right? And so you sit there and go, well, who's benefiting from all of this? And really, when you think about it, there's only one institution that benefits from this type of inflation. It's government.
Right.
And the reason I say that, and there's nothing against it, the reason I say this is because when you think about what inflation does, and let me take a step back. If you always remember, the Fed has always said, we'd like to target 2% inflation. And I always say, why? Why do we target 2% inflation? Why don't we target 0% inflation? There's no reason to target inflation at all. Why should we want inflation, period, right? We don't mind seeing our wages
And
rise.
to be clear, when you say the government is targeting 2%, what do you mean is the Federal Reserve?
The Federal Reserve,
correct?
yes.
The Federal Reserve.
Well, I mean, when they say target, it's not that they create inflation or reduce inflation, but means that they target in the sense that if inflation begins to increase, they'll let it go so that on average we get 2%. But we all know that there's no way for them really to stop inflation when it gets going, and we're seeing it right now, right? I mean,
and they've also never clarified does that mean, are they using an average based off the last, 5 years?
30 years, 5 months, 2 weeks.
There's no clarification what the average is because they have never ever hit a 2%. Like their target has been 2% since for a long time, as far as I remember. Even just when you've been working for this a long time. Even when Alex and I started working, there was, I believe it was Janet Yellen. She was still she was still trying to target 2% inflation, and they never ever hit it.
Right, and I guess my point being is that the reason government doesn't mind inflation is because they are the biggest debtor in the world. Notice they have huge debts that go out to 15, 20, 30 years, right? And they have an advantage that everybody else doesn't have. That is that they can literally create income out of taxes, right? So they have the ability to print. So here we are in a situation where the longer the debt is and the higher the inflation, the present value of that debt becomes smaller and smaller. In other words, if you have this much inflation going on, 11%, 8%, by the time you get 20 years from now, the amount you owe in 20 years is going to look like pennies today, right? So they're all in on inflation, right? Because they have no problem with it, right? The rest of the world, meaning the rest of the world, the middle class is the one that gets mashed the most, right? And the retirees, as we always say. Right. Because think about it. If you are a working person and you have inflation that's running at 11%, 10%, 9%, right? There is a very high probability that your wages are not increasing at the same amount. Therefore, you have to spend more now on that which you need to live on, meaning energy, food, and other, basically non-discretionary gas. Yeah. I mean, well,
which
the energy was part of, I guess energy, I meant the heating, gas, etc. So when you're doing that,
if you want to put it that way,
what's going to happen? You're going to spend less money on something else, meaning travel possibly, restaurants, right? Going out to dinner, going to the movies, buying the extra piece of equipment, and the businesses too. So it's basically, it's impacting, right, an enormous amount of people on a negative sense, right?
Well, just to clarify, because I know we have a lot of investors and economists tend to say like, well, you really want to be when you're when you're trying to think about inflation or hedge for inflation, you think about things like real estate, the markets, and it is generally true that the markets will rise over time with inflation for the most part, right? Alex read the statistic on Tuesday, I believe, but it's also important to clarify that just because you can protect some of your assets that will rise with inflation, it doesn't mean that your expenses aren't also going up. If you're someone that owns a house and the value of your house is going up, well, first of all, there's two things that can happen. One, if you don't have the proper liquidity apart from your house and your expenses are rising, it's going to force you to sell your house. If you are invested in fixed income, as retirees often are, is like normally what happens when we talk about a financial plan is the financial life is you go from accumulating to start pulling, right? You pull from your retirement, or you convert to fixed income so that you get a certain amount that you can live on. If that does not keep with inflation, then your expenses are going up, and even if your assets are going up, you're going to have to start selling more of them regardless. So it's one of those things that you have to make sure we understand that just because that inflation, like something rises with inflation. For instance, like you could hedge your bet with gold if that's a possibility. A lot of people suggest. But not.
Well,
if they're
assuming
paying
that
more
landlords
for
are winning, but that's
utilities,
assuming that
it just
people will pay
depends.
their rent also, right? So the issue is, again, we can simplify these things. So in other words,
Right.
you could say, yeah, so, eventually the stock market, and that happens, eventually the stock market turns around, it produces very good returns, but those things don't pay the rent, and they don't pay your food, and they don't
Right.
pay your gas. In other words, you have to look at it from the perspective, the pain is right now, right? You have the stock market is down, you have interest rates that haven't risen yet. I mean, they've raised rates by 1/4 point, right?
Yeah.
And in the sense of, from a perspective of, can I invest in basically fixed income securities, which are the ones that pay a particular interest rate, a coupon, and therefore and they don't have the kind of volatility that
Right.
stocks have, although recently, because rates are so low, they have had much volatility. However, you're not there yet. In other words, if you're now earning even the 10-year, the 10 years at 2.5%, big deal, 2.5% versus inflation rate of 11%, that's not doing anything
getting
for
killed.
you, right? If the stock market's up 5%, that's not doing anything for you. Not only that, if it's up 5%, are you then saying to me that you're going into your retirement to pull money out, meaning you're pulling your 5% that you earn, plus you're pulling out more money to pay for your expenses.
Right.
Before you know it, you run out of money. So in other words, we are in a situation now with this inflation, right, is definitely crippling a large amount of people, right? A large population, right? And so if it does not slow down, frankly, we're in big trouble. That's the way I look at it, right?
I mean, because now Jerry just mentioned off camera, I don't know if everyone could hear, that landlords are benefiting, but just to clarify, that's only if they're raising the rent on their rentees more than the inflation is going up. Because if that's your only source of income, and all of a sudden your expenses go up by the same amount, you're not really making the spread. Well, no, what about their personal living expenses?
This is past the tenants. All the expenses are past the tenants.
No, what I'm saying is, let's say you make money as a landlord, you make $10,000, let's say you just, like, we'll even out the idea, you make $10,000 a year, and that's your income, and your expenses just went up by $10,000 a year. Now, you're still equalized. If that's your income, if that's what you're making as a business, right, a personal income, and you don't agree? Okay.
Well, listen, I guess the whole point is that there's the function of liquidity, and that's my issue. In other words, the liquidity part of the equation is very small, right? Because most people don't have the liquidity to keep up with that type of inflation. The expectation or the hope, right, is that we begin to reduce that. And certainly we've had events that, for whatever reason, have impacted this inflation. One of them, of course, is the energy. Right? The energy situation has been both from the perspective of the policies that our government has decided upon, and also at this point, also the war in Ukraine that has created an enormous amount of pressure in energy prices, right?
Right.
We also came out of a pandemic, and we also have in a situation where the economy isn't flowing as smoothly as we had hoped at this point, because the chain is still broken. The question is,
The supply
how
chain, you
long
mean?
the supply chain? Yeah, how long will this last? Because, as Alex has mentioned quite a few times, you can have an inflation rate of 10%, 11% for a year or a year and a half or 2 years. If as long as it stops, then you can survive it. The question is, does this type of inflation continue to grow over time? that's where it becomes real problematic. But the point being is that this is very painful, and so how is that pain going to be translated? I mean, I read a lot of articles that people say the economy is doing really well, so they do not expect a recession. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. The point is that historically, these type of rise in energy prices have caused recessions. This type of function that the yield curve has been having it does predict recession. This type of inflation predicts recession. Is it going to happen? I don't know the answer to that, but certainly you have to prepare for it because everything that is going on right now is pointing that way.
You can't just brush it off. Is what
Exactly.
you're
You
saying.
can't just ignore it. So, again, are there winners and losers? Of course, yeah. I mean, you mentioned, you can invest in gold. Gold hasn't done as great as it used to go.
I guess
used
I
to
was
be,
talking
right?
about a lot of conventional thinking here. I wasn't.
Yeah.
I'm not
and obviously,
officially endorsing
if you had
gold as a hedge
invested
for
in
inflation.
oil companies, that would have done very well for you.
Yeah.
So there are pockets of, yes, people that do very well during this scenario, right? But my point is that the pockets are small. I'd rather see the majority of people, right, the majority of the population doing well, right, than small pockets. And this is very painful, And so hopefully, like I said, hopefully we keep our fingers crossed that this will be, we're reaching the peak. Although I think most people expected the peak already to have passed. No, I think we're reaching the peak. And then hopefully from there we start bringing to decline, because otherwise, I think the pain is going to be a little harder than we had hoped, than we had expected. So that was just my 2 cents worth.
Any silver linings or?
Any silver linings? No. Well, the silver.
Or do you want to end the show?
No. So I'm always a positive-looking guy, right?
That's
I mean,
what I
think
figured, that there was going to be something else.
I think things eventually work out. I mean, we had stagflation in the 70s. We worked out of it,
Yeah.
right? And people did very well thereafter, right? So there are always events in the world that create chaos, that create markets to be volatile, and we're in one right now. And it will happen, it will calm down. As we always say, panicking isn't the solution.
Right.
You're not allowed. You shouldn't panic and say, I have to sell everything because everything's going down the tubes. No. You hopefully have already had a very well-structured portfolio that met your risk tolerance, that met your goals. And if you did that, leave it alone. Because
Right.
we have 10 years of a great bull market. So the expectation is that you did better, most likely, than you would have expected to do.
Right.
Now you got to ride the wave down a little bit, and that's fine. And then it'll pick up again, because that's the way markets work. You just don't panic, sell, and then, as we always say, if you miss the 5 or 10 best days over a 20-year period, you're in trouble, because some of those days are the ones that really impact returns.
Right.
So be patient, don't panic, and put your head down, keep working, and
Call
it'll
Emergent
work out.
Financial Services and then
Call Emergent Financial Service.
get
And
your
we'll get you
financial
through
plan
it.
to get some insight from Xavier, and we'll work it through it. Well, anyway, this has been
Financial planning.
a fun.
This has been fun. I
So-
mean, you did a great job. I have to admit that
well.
Alex prepared you very well.
I was going to say, Alex gave me some questions. So he prepared me.
Oh, he
me
gave
some
you
coaching.
questions?
Yeah, he gave me some. He gave me his normal cheat
Yeah, he gave me
sheet.
the questions too. I can't.
Yeah, I know.
Because
Yeah, I
I'm
know he
gonna
did.
go back. He says, "Well, I gave you the same questions." But,
Yeah, he's going to be like, next time what he's going to do is going to give us 2 different questions, and we're going to be like, did you get this question?
But it's
either
been
way.
good. It's been a lot of fun. Once again, I mean, we have to thank our viewers. I know we didn't have a chance because I know certainly I can't do 2 things at the same time. So the idea is looking to see how many people are watching and who's watching and questions. So
If
I
you have questions
apologize.
or comments, we will bring them up next time.
Next
We'll
time,
cover
yeah.
them in the show, or just pass them on if they were for our guests. We will pass them on so that we can
Absolutely.
get some questions
Absolutely.
answered.
Yeah.
But we're gonna have to. But before we go, actually, one of our sponsors, Castle Hill Cider, we were out there
Oh, that's right. This past
this
weekend.
Sunday. The whole Irpy clan went out to go see
Took us a brunch.
I would say we wanted the brunch, but we also
went to
kind of
see,
wanted
yeah.
to check out the views because Castle Cider has a beautiful venue.
views out
It's
there.
a beautiful venue, and the views. It's very, to be quite frank with you, it's very relaxing.
Very relaxing, and there's stunning views. It's a beautiful place, and I think now in spring, I mean, this is the time to get outdoors and visit all these places. I mean, it's in Castle Hill is a
Weather's
spectacular
great. They've got
place.
a lot of
Yeah.
outdoor seating, indoor seating. The cider
Great
was,
cider?
I mean, it was fantastic because we went to try some things that we were dying to try that we haven't had a chance to try, and it's just so the port style ciders though. Those were,
They're
oh,
delicious.
those are fantastic.
Yeah, they are very good. They are very good.
And the brunch was delicious. So worth going out. So thank you to Castle Hill Cider, of course, for always sponsoring the show, along with our other sponsors, Aqua Seville Hand Car Wash, Series Craddock Insurance, the Jim Seville, who we had on today, GBS Financial Services, VT Spirits, and Forward Adelante, the premier Latino business networking.
Oh, terrific. You did a great job.
Yeah, I was like, I forgot some of the words in the middle, but I threw them all together.
No,
like
you
out.
did it.
Yeah, we got it through. And
I tell you,
Emergent
we-
Financial Services, it's great to be here with you, Xavier.
Thank you. It's great to be here with
Thank you
you.
to Judah and Jerry. Judah for making us look good, as Alex always says.
And thank you for our audience.
He had a hard
Without
time this
them,
week.
oops,
Yes,
without
well, I
them,
haven't finished yet.
oh.
Because now, thank you for our audience, because without you, there would be no Today Manana. So,
All right. Well, then, I guess until next week.
until next
And-
week, do you want to do the
Absolutely. I mean, I think I
all right.
better. I have
All
a
right.
better accent. So
All right,
until
like, Judah,
next
can we
week,
get a one shot on Xavier?
Oh, wait
when
a
he
minute. We
says
have
hasta
to.
mañana?
I think we have to say who's coming next week.
Next
Go
week
ahead.
we
See,
have
you almost
David
missed
Deaton
that.
from Deaton Group Consulting and Thomas and Levi from Streamline Plumbing.
Oh, that should be good. That should
Yeah.
be good. I'll give you some tips on plumbing. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you again, everybody, for watching. I appreciate it. We all appreciate it here at the Merchant Financial Service and Today Mañana. And until next time, hasta mañana.